Not personal, man. Tom is actually my friend, one of my close friends.
You play with this guy. This guy had your back. What happened between the two of you guys?
Talented players in the league, RC. Yeah. But this happens, and it just makes people say, what's going on with this guy?
Nobody wants those type of people in their locker rooms.
We have achieved something truly special on this YouTube channel, something that I didn't think we would ever be capable of. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to announce that it has been 4.5 months since we last made a video on Antonio Brown. Now, unfortunately, that streak comes to an end today. Why? Because Antonio Brown announced that he is returning to the NFL. No, I am serious. And there's a tweet out and everything, and he even announced what team he's going to sign with. So before we get to the content, we're running a huge giveaway this time for my Instagram page. We're 3,000 followers away from 100K followers. When we hit 100K followers, we're going to announce multiple $100 cash prize winners for any follower that has my Instagram notifications on. Now that we get all that out of the way, break. Some of the green slips you guys have been sending me is crazy. Like $1,250 off of a $250 slip, or $1,500 off of a $150 power play. We've been making bank off of our basketball picks, bro. March Madness was a huge success, and believe me, we're about to ramp it up for the NBA playoffs. All you have to do is download Prize Picks, use my promo code Mikerophone, and they'll match your first deposit up to $100 instantly. After that, just follow me on Instagram. I post all of my picks onto my Instagram story for free, and we can start making money off of these picks together. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The past 5 years have been very interesting for Antonio Brown, and if he played this portion of his career properly, then he really could have set himself up well for the rest of his life. Whenever a player is drafted extremely late in the NFL draft, in AB's case, he was drafted in the 6th round of the NFL draft, and is so successful during his first stint as a wide receiver that he earns himself a 5-year, $42.5 million contract extension 3 seasons into his career. That's considered to be a huge win. When you're able to get yourself a second contract extension with that team and become the face of that franchise 5 years later, especially if it's a 4-year extension worth $68 million, then you definitely had a really remarkable NFL career. Antonio Brown was in a position where he could have went down as one of the all-time greatest players to ever play the game. And to be honest, he came really close to scratching that surface despite all of the miscues that have plagued him throughout his career. The one stretch of his career that kind of ruined everything for him was during his final season with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This was the season that him and Ben Roethlisberger got into it, then skipping practices leading up to their final game of the season. Antonio Brown would get benched that game, and then he would request a trade. This would alter his career forever. He would get traded to the Oakland Raiders in exchange for a 3rd round pick and a 5th round pick. Every Raiders fan was looking at John Gruden like he was some sort of genius. And then following that trade, the Raiders decided to reward Antonio Brown with another contract extension, even before he played a single snap with the Raiders. And to be honest, we need to stop normalizing giving trouble players that were just traded for significant amounts of money, because this isn't the first time we saw an instance like this not work out. Unfortunately, he would wear out his welcome with the Raiders within a few months. He wouldn't even make it to the regular season. First with a cryotherapy session that gave him frostbitten feet, then he had a whole issue with the type of helmet he was wearing, before finally getting fined $54,000 by his general manager for unexcused absences and missing practice sessions, which resulted in Antonio Brown eventually calling Mike Mayock a cracker. He would apologize 2 days later for his actions, then less than a day later, Antonio Brown would demand his release from the Raiders and then post a video celebrating the fact that he got released. He would get signed by the New England Patriots for a week and team up with Tom Brady because Tom Brady advocated for him. It was only for that amount of time. He only played for 1 game. It was a pretty awesome game at that. But Tom Brady would give him another chance, and he was actually a model citizen for his first season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which would result in him winning a Super Bowl. The next season, however, things got a little shady. Antonio Brown was accused of buying fake fake COVID vaccine cards. He was outed by his chef, who he owed money to, apparently. And we all know how Antonio Brown's career would end. And there's conflicting reports about how it would end. From Antonio Brown's perspective, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wanted Antonio Brown to play hurt during one of their final games of the season versus the New York Jets. His teammates, however, stated that Antonio Brown just wanted the ball more. Regardless, he would leave the football field in epic fashion and then would get released by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then would go on this beautiful media tour trashing Tom Brady, the man who has won him a Super Bowl and the man that brought him back for 2 more seasons. It's really unfortunate because Antonio Brown clearly possessed tremendous ability still. I mean, he was still the remarkable player he was in Pittsburgh during his time in Tampa Bay, and this was as a wide receiver 3 at this point. AB would go on this tour trashing Tom Brady.
If Tom Brady's my boy, why am I playing for an earnest salary?
And then shortly after, he would try to pursue a career of becoming a rapper. Then he would form a duo with Kanye West, which is its own rabbit hole that I really don't think we should go into. And this is before we get into all the other stuff Antonio Brown has been dealing with. Very shortly after he got released by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we found out that he was with a toilet seat licking OnlyFans model who was trying to clout chase based off of Antonio Brown's situation, and it actually worked, although I forgot her name. And that's before we even mentioned the fact that cops literally sat outside this man's house for weeks trying to arrest him. Well, that's not necessarily the case anymore. What I'm trying to say is there's been a lot on Antonio Brown ever since his career has ended, and there's one thing that he was a little delusional about, and I think he's realizing it a little too late. The only reason people cared about him so much was because he was so freaking good at football, and the personality was a nice little bonus on the side. But Antonio Brown wasn't able to accept this reality. He thought that people still loved AB for AB, and right now it seems like Antonio Brown is doing anything he possibly can to earn himself one more big check because he's running out of money. Cops were ordered to arrest Antonio Brown over unpaid child support, while Antonio Brown also released a photo of him finally paying his child support. And he also invited people to subscribe to his Instagram subscription thingy. You know how you can now subscribe to creators on Instagram, kind of as if it's Patreon or OnlyFans, but like for the most part, male creators, including myself, don't really know what you should subscribe to them for. That's pretty much what Antonio Brown is trying to promote here. Clearly, if he was making money, he wouldn't really try to put this out there as an option, but it doesn't look like he's making money anymore. So it seems like he's trying to generate some sort of hype for himself. And the way he's trying to do it is pretty interesting. I'm gonna take this with a grain of salt. I don't think this is true at all, but it is trending, and a lot of people have been asking for this video, so I'm making this video. According to Antonio Brown, he has officially signed with the Baltimore Ravens. No, I'm serious. Look, excited to return to the NFL this year. Antonio Brown in a Ravens jersey swap. Now, this is from Antonio Brown's original Twitter account. This isn't something I'm making up. It's not an April Fool's prank. This is what Antonio Brown is saying. Does it make sense? Well, the Baltimore Ravens signed Odell Beckham Jr. on a 1-year max prove-it deal, and they just drafted Zay Flowers from Boston College. They're really motivated to try to get Lamar Jackson as many pieces as they possibly can to prove how committed they are to him. They also recently extended Lamar Jackson. There is footage of Antonio Brown working out with Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson has spoken glowingly about Antonio Brown in the past. I mean, Antonio Brown said this on I Am Athlete about a year ago, saying that he wants to play with Action Jackson, and Lamar Jackson just responded a devil's emoji in response to that. So I took that as very much like, I'm not gonna say no, but I'm not gonna say, yeah, let's make it happen and get his hopes up for no reason either. In July of 2020, Lamar Jackson actually said that he was hoping that the Ravens would sign Antonio Brown. But you have to understand that this was in the summer of 2020. This is before Antonio Brown decided to on Tom Brady. And you have to understand, most quarterbacks are probably looking at that and saying, well, Tom Brady took this man out of the gutter and gave him one more chance at a football career and won him a Super Bowl and had him live with him in his house, and Antonio Brown still on him. Why would any other quarterback try to make it work with Antonio Brown when clearly it's gonna at some point or another go sour? Recently, Antonio Brown also purchased an Arena Football League team, and Lamar Jackson came to his defense as well. So check this out. Antonio Brown was signing some autographs for the fans, tweeting out, "Still, I maintain a level of professionalism, positivity while dealing with this security today. First game as an owner." To be honest, I think this is a beautiful message, and Tony Jefferson replied to this saying the security guard before he found out Antonio Brown was the owner, to which Lamar Jackson defended Antonio Brown, quote tweeting this saying, "Please delete your account, bruh." Tony Jefferson and Lamar Jackson do have a relationship. Tony Jefferson was on the Baltimore Ravens and was a teammate of Lamar Jackson. So I don't think this is something that Lamar Jackson or the Baltimore Ravens are actually entertaining. I don't think it's actually true, because if it was, you would hear it from a reputable source. It's really unfortunate when we can't even trust the actual player making the announcement anymore. And to be honest, I have tremendous empathy for Antonio Brown, because I really think that the shots he took to the head definitely impacted his behavior. We have a whole documentary comparing how he behaved before the hit and after the hit, and we'll leave that in the end screen. I would love to see him in the NFL again. I mean, I love watching talented human beings in the NFL. I loved watching Antonio Brown carve up defenses. I would love to see him get another bag. I obviously want to see him get his life together. I just don't think this is true. If it is, why would the Ravens throw in a wild card in an already very attractive wide receiver room? Let me know in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.